Well, welcome back to Truth Be Told. We're going to battle for this holiday special edition. Today we're exploring the haunted histories of Gettysburg with Barry J. Corbett, author of Haunted Gettysburg, Paranormal Tales from the Field of Battle. Barry spent 6 years as lead investigators for Boston Paranormal, exploring more than 150 haunted sites across New England. His book brings to life the ghostly echoes of the Civil War and their deadliest battles, where 50,000 soldiers, many just teenagers, met their fate, leaving behind restless spirits that still haunt the fields of Gettysburg. As an award-winning cartoonist and versatile storyteller, Barry has published comic collections, short stories, and graphic memoirs. Now he turns his lifelong fascination with ghosts into a chilling journey through America's most haunted battles. I'm your host, Tony Sweet. Please welcome to the studio for the second time, author, cartoonist, Barry J. Corbett. There he is, he's back. I couldn't go through Halloween without having you on.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Of course. Well, first off, I want to get started on this amazing book, but you've, like I said in the intro, 150 haunted sites, but Gettysburg seems to really stand out or stand apart. And I wanted to ask if you could describe the feeling of Gettysburg at night in one chilling moment, what really stood out as the most unforgettable experience.
Well, the whole place is just incredible. There's a real gravitas about it. And the minute you step off the bus there and see the field and the town itself, it just gives you chills just to be there. It's just an amazing sight. I highly recommend it if anyone hasn't been there as a visit. I could have spent 2 or 3 weeks there easily. But yeah, they actually don't let you go in the park after dark anymore. You can
Oh, no, they don't?
Yeah, they used to up until, 5 or 6 years ago, but they've stopped doing that. But there are plenty of sites around town where you can get to. For example, the old grove out near the middle school is a very haunted area, and some of the creepiest things experienced have been seen there. The usual gunshots, voices, phantom mists. Sometimes they've seen a rider on horseback riding through. And that's the area where at the middle school, about in 1982, I think,
right,
actually had a soldier walk through one of the classrooms in the middle of the day. Just an amazing thing.
Well, I know we also mentioned many of the spirits that you write about were incredibly young, some as young as 12, and which is hard to believe. But how does knowing their age change the way you connect with or interpret the hauntings at Gettysburg?
Oh, I think the inexperience probably has a lot to do with it. They were already seasoned veterans by the time they got to Gettysburg. Right. The war had been in progress for a couple of years.
That's amazing, though.
And there were a lot of teenagers that signed up, but a lot of the ones that were that young, 12, that were bugle boys and drummers, but they were still in the field of battle. And
right.
They were they were shot and killed and wounded, and I can only imagine what that's like for someone that young. I just can't put a finger on it. I think that might be one of the reasons that some of them stick around. They're just so shocked by their own death, they're just totally unprepared for it at that young age.
Yeah, and to think about when I was 12 years old, I mean, you're starting to slowly turn into that manhood. You're starting to go through puberty and a lot of emotions anyway. But I couldn't imagine living in that time, because you definitely had to grow up faster back then. But putting into a battles scene, that would just, the shock or the change would just baffle people nowadays to think about living in those times.
Yeah. I like to say people grew up a lot quicker than they do now.
Yeah.
They got married young. They had lots of children young.
Yeah.
It was a different world.
Well, I want to ask you about the Devil's Den. It's a kind of a legend for ghost activity. What do you think makes this site so uniquely active compared to other parts of the battlefield? And can you explain what Devil's Den is?
Well,
look at you. You have the pictures ready. I love it.
Yeah, Devil's Den was smack dab in the middle of the largest area of battle, in between Little Round Top, which the Union held for the entire 3 days, and the area that was attacked by the South and Pickett's charge. Day two took the heaviest fighting, and in that single day alone, there were about 8,000 rebels killed, 1,800 rebels killed, and 800 Union soldiers. And it was a crop of boulders full of crevices and shadows and places you could hide behind and shoot someone, stick a bayonet and from behind. It was just a difficult place to fight. So it changed hands, I think, 4 times in that single day. And it was carnage at an unbelievable level. And at the end of the day, it was held by the Union soldiers. But as dusk fell, some of the shooting stopped. But at that point, they found themselves listening to people that were lying on the field, groaning in pain, screaming for help. As they slowly dying, hundreds of bodies on the field. I can't imagine. It's also one of the more haunted areas on the battlefield. It had a reputation for being haunted even before the battle.
Did it really?
I guess there's a legend, maybe it's just folklore, but there was a Native American battle called the Battle of the Crows. And I didn't come across a lot of detail about it, but the name itself, the Devil's Den, one of the rumors said it was infested with snakes. I think it's because the crevices just look so deep and dark. It looks like they might go all the way down to the Devil's Domain. They just kind of got that nickname.
What? A lot of times, if you're a psychic or ability, or even if you don't even think you have the ability, being around a location like that, your senses may be heightened. What did you feel, or what did you see that kind of gave you that inclination that there is a lot of activity in Devil's Den?
You feel like you're being watched a lot when you're standing there. And I try to get there early in the morning so that there weren't a lot of visitors yet. So that kind of enhanced the feeling, I imagine. But that's a common report by visitors there, that they feel watched. And it gives you chills just being there. It's just an eerie sight, even in the bright daylight. One of the most common characters seen, they've nicknamed the Helpful Hippie. He's got a Southern warrior, probably from one of the Texas brigades. A lot of them weren't issued full uniforms by the South, so they just came dressed as they were when they signed up. He just has bare feet. He's kind of got ragged shoes. He has long hair, and he wears a wide-brimmed hat. He walks up to people, and they think he's a living person. He seems as solid as they are. And he's very friendly and cheery, and he'll usually point over towards the river called Plum Run. They said, you should take a look over there, or that's what you're looking for. And then they'll turn around and he'll be gone.
Oh, wow.
Hundreds of times, I guess, according to visitors' reports. So we think maybe he might have died at Plum Run. They say that the river itself ran red with the blood of so many people killed there.
Was most of the bodies removed, or were many buried there?
There are hundreds buried there. They were removed. Well, a couple of weeks after the battle, the North made an effort to reinter the bodies into Union cemeteries, mostly the big one nearby. But a lot of the Southern bodies they left for later on, and some of them were never discovered. There's at least 300 or 400 still out there.
Wow.
Yeah. Some of the women in the South raised money to send people to search for the bodies, and they reinterred a lot of them. But there's no way that they found all of them. It was just too big a task.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's pretty amazing because, 50,000 people?
Yeah, that's the number. In 3 days of battle, 50,000 wounded or killed.
I couldn't imagine the energy imprint that has been placed on that site. And how does that manifest for investigators like yourself with that type of an imprint? I just couldn't imagine 50,000 people. That's pretty out.
Yeah, it's the energy imprint is a phenomenon we encounter at a lot of places that are haunted that we've been to. It's sometimes when an event is just so violent or so tragic, it just is infused into the land. The energy remains there forever.
Yeah.
And it's not just the field. The entire town a lot of the battle took place right in Gettysburg itself. And that's why a lot of the local inns are haunted. There's a lot of people buried right in people's front yard. And they also, while the battles were going on, they arranged field hospitals in the cellar of many of the buildings. There were probably 25 field hospitals spread throughout the city. So people were dying and suffering right in their homes, in the basements of their hotels, things like that. So it's just the whole entire city is spread with this echo of pain.
Yeah, I also saw, was it Kuhn's Brickyard? Can you kind of tell us your experience that you've had?
Yeah, I took quite a few photos at the Brickyard, and that's one of the ones you could go to at night. I did feel a very strong feeling of being watched there. That is also near the middle school. It's one of the earliest battles. The Brickyard battle was a rout for the South. It was Kuhn's orchard, and that they tried to. The Union soldiers were entrenched behind a couple of fences and a brick wall, and the Southern force that came into town was about 3 times their size, so it was turned into a rout very quickly. It was hand-to-hand fighting, so there was some brutal, wounds. People suffered and died very quickly there. Others lingered. The Union soldiers had to retreat, but they backed up over to Cemetery Hill, where they made another stand. And they were to hold that ground for the rest of the 3 days. But spirits there, lots of voices, lots of gunshots. There's also a little brook behind there that one of the theories is running water can supply energy that spirits can use to manifest. So that might be something that enhances the haunting. But definitely a place where lots of people were killed. And there's a nice monument, and there's a beautiful mural painted across the side of a building. It's about 30 feet high and 50 feet long. It's just a beautiful illustration memorializing the battle.
We hear a lot about the tragedy but is there any place that you felt on the battlefield or in town that actually felt peaceful? I'm curious to see if there was any positivity that you felt in the area versus just all tragedy.
The town itself has a nice vibe to it. It's a pretty little place. There's lots of nice hotels and restaurants.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. The area around is very beautiful. So, yeah, there are areas that are serene and pleasant to be around, especially on a nice sunny day. Some of the inns have some of the best stories. I stayed in 4 different haunted inns, and I asked them for their most haunted room.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Did you specifically ask for it?
Yeah, always. They're always happy to rent out the haunted rooms. I'm sure they use it to market their hotels.
Did you have any activity?
A little bit at the Cashtown Inn, which I believe is one of the most haunted sites there. And again, it was one of the early sites for the battle. General Bowden met there with General Lee before the battle even started, and they were bringing their troops in. So they were using the inn right away. They took it right over and used the ovens to bake bread for the soldiers and all that. But once the battle started, and just like a lot of the others, they started bringing in the wounded into the cellar.
Right.
And with very little painkillers. They did have painkillers, but they just used morphine and ether, things like that. But they did not have antibiotics, so it was a lot of suffering. And the treatment for wounds was an amputation.
Yeah, there wasn't much else to do back then.
Yeah, so they're down in the cellar hacking off limbs, and they're just throwing them out the cellar window. And they form a big pile out in the yard, just bleeding all over the backyard. And that was a common sight in some of the areas where they had these field hospitals. I talked to Jeremy, the owner, and Danielle, the owners of the really nice people. They got me some fantastic stories. Not only their experiences at the inn itself, where they've seen quite a few things, but in the roads around there. He was driving his truck home one night, and he saw a Union soldier walking down the street directly towards his truck. He thought it was a reenactor because it looked solid. He tried to stop, hit the brakes, but it was too late. and the soldier passed right through the truck. He actually turned his head and looked at him while he was going through it.
Oh my
He stopped the
God.
truck, got out, looked around. There was no body, nothing. No one, there never was anyone there. Just amazing.
I bet you his heart was pumping.
Yeah, and it happened to him twice. Another time, there was a store nearby. He had just pulled in. It was a rainy night, and he turned around, backed the truck out. When he turned back to look forward again, another Union soldier walked right through the porch and through a wall to the left, a fence rather, to the left, disappeared into the rain. In the hotel itself, they're very friendly ghosts for the most part. They don't harass them or anything. The most common thing is they knock on one room at 3 a.m. 3 knocks. It's always 3 knocks. They'll get up, they'll answer the door, nobody there. They'll go back to bed. Half an hour later, 3 knocks again. It didn't happen to me the night I was there, but I still felt the chills. They often see faces in the window. Jeremy describes the door opening and closing and locking on its own a few times. And at one point, he heard a thump on the second floor landing. He ran up the stairs, and right in the middle of the landing, there was a book. And the title of the book was like "Stories from the Beyond the Grave."
Well, at least they have a sense of humor.
Yeah, they definitely have a sense of humor. He thought that was good. Yeah,
I know you mentioned about some of these soldiers that as longing to be remembered. In your book, which kind of a spirit story do you think captures that desire?
Jesus, so many. Yeah. At Devil's Den, there was so much death in that one day and so much destruction. And because they were buried in these shallow grave sites, and lots of them, there's no marker. You don't even know where they fell, where they were buried.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think that alone would lead a spirit to be dissatisfied with how it ended, and they would want someone to know where they were. And to be remembered, no one wants to be forgotten. I can't imagine what it's like to be completely forgotten. So I imagine that's what keeps them sticking around. The Valley of Death right behind it was nicknamed because of so many deaths. It was the area right in between Little Round Top and Devil's Den. And there's also the Bloody Wheat Field and the Slaughter Pen. And they have all these grim nicknames because there was just so much death.
Yeah.
It's almost hard to pin down one because they all have the same experience. They were just cut down by the hundreds at the time of the battles and buried very quickly. And like you say, they weren't all found later on.
Did a lot of the land that these battles are on, are they all federally owned land or are they privately owned?
Much of it's federal land, but some of the private farms are still owned by Gettysburg citizens. The battlefield itself is actually where the visitor center is. They have a great show there where they have a audio-visual display that you can take.
That's great.
Bus tours. They can rent tours with the guides themselves. So they control that whole area. They patrol it at night. Don't let people come into the park at night. But the hotels obviously are owned by independent business people rather. There's also Sachs Covered Bridge, which is
what is it?
Sachs Covered Bridge, which is just west of the city. A very haunted site where the legend there says that 3 Union soldiers were hung from the bridge as a lesson because they deserted. Now, 2 or 3 different versions of the story. One of them said they were Southern soldiers and trying to join with the Union. Another one said they were spies, and when they were caught, they were hung. But I don't know how much truth there is in that because they were only there for 4 days. The battle itself was 3 days. They might have hung someone. It's possible. But that's the apparition that's seen most often at the site of the bridge. And by night, it's a very creepy place.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I could imagine at night. During the day, it's pretty cool, but at night, that would be kind of creepy.
Yeah, you walk across it, and you want to get out of there very quickly.
I bet.
But there's a ghost they named Tennessee. They think he was a former slave.
Oh, wow.
And folklore says he likes cigarettes. If you put a cigarette on the rail, you can watch it light up like someone inhaled it. I didn't try. I didn't have any cigarettes with me, but some of the stories I came across said that it did work for them.
Well, I'll definitely, if I ever go, which I hope I do. I don't smoke either, but I definitely will probably at least buy one or bum a cigarette from somebody just to try it.
Yeah, they also see floating heads floating above the river. And of course, the usual voices and gunshots. General Lee took the entire army through it on the way back. I imagine they were carrying rickety carts with wounded soldiers. They say they were bleeding the whole trip. So the floor of the bridge is probably soaked in blood. I can imagine that might leave an energetic imprint of some kind.
Was that bridge ever replaced, or is it, I'm sure it has been repaired, but was it ever replaced to where? Not
completely. No, they repaired it. There was a hurricane in 1910, I believe. Most of it was washed down the river.
Oh, that's too bad.
But, yeah, they got the whole thing back together again. It wasn't destroyed. They were able to piece it back together, reinforce it. They don't allow cars to go through it anymore. You can only walk across it. But it is the original bridge for the most part.
I love that. What now? I know the community. Some of the people maybe have lived there. Their families have lived there since the Civil War, and probably maybe still some of the land is still owned by some of the family that was alive during the Civil War. How do people feel? I know it's a moneymaker for the businesses, but how do people in the community like to be remembered as the turning point for the Civil War, or how do they feel about the paranormal side of the being known about?
I think they have mixed feelings about it. The citizens themselves are probably sick of the ghost stories. But the businesses make a lot of money off it, and they obviously promote it. A lot of the hotels promote it. But I think they have mixed feelings. But they're certainly proud that the war itself, the battle itself, was a turning point. They came very close to losing the battle.
Yeah.
And I think it was the first major battle General Lee lost.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was marching on his way to Washington, and he had hoped to defeat General Meade right there at Gettysburg. And before they reached the city, they'd hoped to encounter him. They never planned to fight right at Gettysburg. It just happened that way. But Meade, the Union Army held most of the Cemetery Ridge and an arc all the way around from Little Round Top all the way to Culp's Hill. And that helped them hang on because they had the high ground.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah.
Yeah. Culp's Hill was, I'm not a historian. I just learned all this from research and for the ghost stories. Culp's Hill was one of the earliest battles. General Lee took over the Dobbin House and the not the Rose Farm, the Daniel Lady Farm, because it was half a mile away from Culp's Hill. And he thought Culp's Hill would be easy to take because they only had a small Union force holding it. But they just weren't able to take it on the first day. They took heavy losses, and it threw off his whole battle plan. A lot of men were wounded. A lot of men were brought back to the farm there and treated. A lot of them died there. And I think there's 37 Southern soldiers still buried in the front yard of the farm. Daniel Lady himself helped to bury them. There's a couple of markers there where they fell, but there was also a field hospital behind it that treated both soldiers from both sides of the battle after the battle ended. And they claim that they saw more wounded soldiers treated there than part of the battle.
I think that's the exciting part of what you do. Is I'm a big history buff, but also I'm a big paranormal buff. And so you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get the historical side of it, but also the lingering of the paranormal of the history. So I think I find that fascinating. How do you as a writer separate the historical truth to the paranormal side? Because some people are going to go, "Oh, come on, this paranormal stuff." But how do you separate the two, and how do you intertwine the two to make it a easy flow for the readers?
Well, like yourself, Tony, I really fell in love with the history when I started getting into this.
Yeah.
And the more you find out about these sites, you start digging in other things, other little facts and figures come up. It's just amazing stories. But I do try to keep take it with a grain of salt that a lot of it is folklore and a lot of it gets exaggerated as it's retold over the years. So you kind of have to look for the facts themselves first and see if that bears out with the actual event that happened there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you do that, you get taken a lot more seriously. People don't call you a sensationalist and
Right.
get accused of faking evidence, things like that. So it's always, that's a good policy to have from the beginning.
Do you get like emotionally connected? Because I know any battle or any type of situation where there's been a loss of many lives, how do you separate the emotional side, or do you like to include that into your writings?
I think it's better to include it because the feelings are part of it, really, and it comes out in your, hopefully it comes out in your writing that you really can feel for these people and their history and what happened to them. It's such a tragedy in so many ways. Any war is, but to think that they're still stuck there beyond, unable to move on to the next stage of existence is just terribly sad. So you want to treat it with respect in any manner, anytime you can.
Yeah. I've heard many times that, psychics say, "Oh, just tell them to go to the light." But, I've heard that so many times, but it seems like many of these locations, I don't know if it's just so many spirits at certain locations where it's hard to do that unless you just spent every moment telling 50,000 souls to go to the light. But it seems like some locations, spirits just don't want to go. And have you ever found yourself to yourself having a conversation with the spirit or someone there?
Absolutely. Not a physical conversation. A lot of times we do it through the gadgets. If you can get, say, a REM pod or something to light up, they can interact with an intelligent spirit. So that if they hit it twice for no and once for yes, then you can actually start almost interviewing the ghost and find out, did you die before 1900? Were you killed here, or were you killed somewhere else? Were you born somewhere else? That kind of thing. You can actually write up a little history with a yes and no process. So you really feel like you have actually met some of these spirits in a way.
Yeah. Have you ever felt like one has befriended you and decided to come and visit where you're at, or no?
Yeah, a couple times.
Really?
Yeah, just for a single day. I went home a couple of times and a couple of lights went on and the TV went on by itself. And one morning I got up, I was the only one on the first floor. We live in a cape. My wife is upstairs. I was just doing some stretches and her guitar was on the guitar stand to my right. And a single note just went twang. And the cat I looked for the cat. She's sitting right in front of me. I said, well, it wasn't the cat. In fact, she walked over to it and looked at the guitar like she heard it too. So I think they're a little bit mischievous sometimes. I was their way of saying, you know what, I'm here. But then they were gone the next day. They didn't hear anything else.
They're like, I just wanted to play your guitar. That's all.
Yeah. Another time I left the walkie-talkie on and it was inside my backpack. And I didn't realize it. So I went to bed. I got up in the morning, walked into the room, and I heard a woman's voice. I couldn't make it out at first what it was saying, but it was actually saying low battery.
Actually, that's a good point. I didn't think about that because we always hear about, the soldiers were mostly men, but how often do they see women spirits at the Gettysburg?
Quite a bit. There's actually...
Really?
Yeah. Jenny Wade was a young woman, the only civilian killed in the battle. She was, I think she was only 18 years old. She had actually was not even in her own home. Her sister had a baby a couple of days before the battle, and she moved into her sister's home to help take care of the baby.
Oh, no.
And the battle broke out, and a sniper's bullet ricocheted, went right through the back door. It stuck her in the back and killed her with one shot. So the home is now a museum. They can tour. They have a recreation of what happened, where they took the body and all that. Very sad story. But they see her spirit walking through the front yard, walking through the home. And they see it in the home where she grew up. So she actually haunts two different locations.
She's a busy ghost.
Yeah. There's also, well, a lot of women helped out treating the soldiers.
Right, right.
And one of the most famous characters from the Battle of Gettysburg is Tilly Pierce, young girl of 16. She was just in high school when the battle broke out. Her parents thought she was in danger, so they sent her down to a friend, Jacob Weaker's farm, which was actually further south, and the battle found her. The battle ended up coming down right to the farm. It was in the middle of the whole thing. The first day she watched, her and her best friend watched all the wounded soldiers come in, being laid in the barn. They started cooking for the soldiers, washing out, blood out of the rags and all that. Then she started helping the doctors bandage wounds. In the end, she's helping them hack off limbs. She's holding them still while they're hacking off arms and legs at 16 years old. So I stayed in the Tilly Pierce Inn, which is supposedly haunted by Tilly. They see a young woman on the second floor peering out the window wistfully. They think it's Tilly Pierce. But she wrote a book about the experience later on, which was, for historians, a very valuable piece of information, because she, described in great detail everything that happened and what she saw. But she survived it and was none the worse afterwards. But I can't imagine being that young and going through that.
I could not either. We forget about those people. Like you said, it's mostly, we don't realize the women that actually helped. Yeah. These doctors are just people that the wounded, many of them cared for them. So I'm sure they were appreciated.
At Spangler's Spring, which is near Culp's Hill, there's a lady in white that visits. The spring looks like a wishing well. Mm-hmm. And the soldiers got their water there, both sides, during the battle. Lots of them were killed right at the site. But they say that the woman in white had been seen there long before the war. And the folklore legend associated with her is that she was a jilted lover. Had two people having an affair, and they would meet at the spring at midnight. And one day she showed up and her lover didn't show. So she committed suicide right there at the site. And now every year her spirit returns to the site looking for her lost lover.
Wow. He's either up there or down there. So,
right. He also could be one of the nuns. There was a convent nearby that.
Oh, really? I did. Wow.
Yeah, after the battle, rushed to help out a lot of the soldiers and took care of them. And they think she could be one of them roaming the field looking for someone she knew or was just so affected by the experience that she sticks around beyond death.
Do the locals or people that see these spirits, have they noticed more Union or Confederate soldiers, or is it kind of a mix of both?
It's more Confederate, I believe, because I think most of the Union soldiers were moved.
Oh, that makes sense.
Reentered the consecrated ground.
Yeah.
The Phantom Regiment is a Union regiment seen most often. In fact, one of the hotel owners I spoke to had personally saw it himself. Quite a few times they've seen the entire regiment marching on the field.
I was going to ask if marching or if actually in battle. So,
yeah, some of the battles are recreated. There's two stories associated with that. The Phantom Regiment has shown up in a number of different areas. At Little Round Top, it's been seen 3 or 4 times. And the other one is before Little Round Top, they actually claim to have seen the ghost of George Washington twice during the Battle of Gettysburg, which is the most amazing thing in the book to me. He, on the way there, the battle had already begun. General Meade ordered the rest of his army to get up to Gettysburg, and they were about a half a day's march away. On the way there, the legend says they found a fork in the road and they weren't sure which way to go. A mounted rider came out of the woods dressed in about 70 years out of date. He had a tri-corner hat. He was a tall man. And the soldiers swear they'd seen paintings of General Washington, and photography, has been around. It was around at the time, but not popularized yet. But they had seen paintings of Washington. They all swear it looked like General Washington. He got right up at the head of the column and told the commanding officer to follow him, and they all just fell in line behind him. He led them right to Little Round Top, and then he disappeared. By the time they got there, they claim it was just dusk. It was starting to get dark, and they noticed a glow around him, like a little bit luminescence.
Wow.
He waltzed off into the woods without saying a word. 2 days later, he showed up again at the same spot at Little Round Top. The 20th Maine was desperately trying to hold that position. They were being attacked from both sides, and they were almost out of ammunition late in the day. The rebels didn't know that, but Joshua Chamberlain was the commander. He said, all right, well, we're just going to bluff. If we can't shoot them, we're going to charge them with bayonets. So they all mounted bayonets, and they were getting ready to charge. The rebels came up the hill, and they come screaming down the hill with the bayonets raised. And Chamberlain himself, and he wrote it in this book. He later became governor of Georgia, I believe, and he wrote a memoir, and he wrote about this incident in the book. He says the figure of General Washington reappeared, raising a sword above his head, and he flew with his horse into battle and encouraged and inspired the men to fight like crazy. And they turned the tide of battle, even though they were just about out of ammunition. That's just the most amazing story.
That is an amazing story. I want to see that movie.
Yeah, and they launched a full investigation after the war because so many soldiers reported seeing Washington on the field. They actually launched an investigation and researched it. So
I love it. I love it. I also realized, even though a lot of the Confederates' bodies were left, they also lost the battle. So I don't know if that also put a negative, a negative tone onto their spirits also. But
yeah, they certainly took heavy losses.
Yeah. Is there some other kind of famous ghosts that are lingering around? We've heard Tennessee at the bridge, but what are some other of the recognized soldiers that are kind of lingering?
This is the Cashtown Inn in 1906, I believe. There's two figures behind my shoulder. The one in the front is a
yep, I see him.
Is a visitor, a tourist. The one behind him wasn't there at the time. He didn't show up till he checked this picture out later. They have this postcard for sale in the hotel. It's great. But the other one is the Farnsworth House in, I believe, is the most haunted site there. Let's see if I can get a picture of that up. Thought I brought one with me. I don't see it here. Well, here's one of the spirits that was seen there anyways. They have a mirror in the basement. Once again, the basement was used as a field hospital.
Is that a hand?
Yeah. They keep taking pictures of this mirror in the basement, and they keep coming up with specters and phantoms showing up in the mirror. The person with their back turned is actually one of the tour guides. He has long hair, and because he's moving, it looks like his hair is flowing. But the hand itself is not there. That's a phantom hand reaching in to touch him.
Oh my God, that's pretty profound.
Isn't that something? Yeah. The owner of the hotel gave me that photo, and they see a blue uniformed soldier from the Union Army. They call him Walter. This is the face one of them captured in the mirror.
That looks scary.
Yeah, there's enough detail to see that it looks like a Union cap. You can kind of see the original photo. You can see a little more of his uniform, but the cellar there. When they retreated to the cellar, the rebel soldiers took over the inn and told the guests to wait in the cellar. They thought the battle would be over very quickly. It wasn't. But as they brought in wounded people, they'd lay them on the floor of the inn, and their blood would seep right through the floorboards and actually drip on top of the people that were hiding out in the cellar.
Oh, my God.
And then later on, a lot of the bodies were brought down to the cellar and just piled up in the storeroom in the back. So the Farnsworth Inn is one of the most haunted hotels in the entire area. They brought in lots of psychics and mediums. I think Ed Lorraine Warren.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Lorraine said that room there should be shut off. There's something very aggressive, very hostile in that room. They did. They cordoned the room off, don't allow anyone in there anymore. Some people, I guess, came out with scratches on their face, I guess.
Come on, Barry, let's go.
I know, yeah. Feet don't fail me now.
Right. I will push you down, Barry. I'll push you. Get him.
Well, George Costanza, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I just love these stories. I love you people that investigate. Like I said, I haven't had the opportunity to do this yet, and I really want to. But you've investigated so many different sites. How did Gettysburg compare to a lot of the haunted New England sites, like the taverns, the inns, and homes, and all that?
I would put it at the top of the list.
Really?
Yeah, there's just so many areas that have phenomena, and as I said, you can feel it from the minute you step onto that field. You can feel it. It's ominous. It's chilling, and it's just you feel like you're being watched. As I said, in so many areas, and you feel like they want to tell you their story. You know, they really want to be heard.
Yeah. So
I imagine that's why, and because it was such a violent battle, and it was such a turning point in the war, that a crucial piece of history really happened there at Gettysburg in those 3 days.
Do you think places like Gettysburg, do you think it serves as a reminder of our America's past traumas, and do you feel like it could be like a teaching tool?
Yeah, of course. I imagine any war is a teaching tool as far as trying to avoid the next one.
Right.
But it was the only war where, brother against brother, cousin against cousin, people that knew each other were encountering each other on the battlefield.
Yeah.
They would pull, like the Union soldiers would pull wounded rebel soldiers in and treat them humanely, because they knew they were all Americans.
Yeah.
No war has ever been like that, or ever since. Just an amazing thing. Hope it never happens again.
I hope not either. Yeah, I'm a big history buff of my family tree, and I've had both Confederate and Union soldiers on both sides. They fought in the Revolutionary War, so I take great pride in my culture, my family culture in America. But yeah, this type of tragedy that we hope we never see again is a teaching tool, and we can remember this one battlefield, 50,000 soldiers. It's just baffling to us in 2025 that we could do that to each other, and I can see why some of these spirits, these soldiers that don't want to be forgotten, because maybe they do stick around so we can remember to not do it again. So, well, the takeaway for, the people that are going to pick up your book, what do you hope they take away from it?
There is quite a bit of history in it. The focus is ghost stories, but I couldn't tell them without doing the research and without telling what led to the deaths, how the battles changed, and, the mistakes were made, and the valor and the courage of most of the soldiers. A lot of them were facing incredible odds, and they fought like hell anyways. So I'm just impressed with their youth and dedication, giving their life for their country. Yeah.
Yeah. And just believing in what they were fighting for. Well, before we get out of here, I know there's some people that are going to be inspired by you, either writing or cartoonist or even just wanting to visit Gettysburg. And if it's their first time or 10th time, but they've never got to experience what you experienced, what is some of the most powerful chance of experiencing paranormal activity, and which of the top three would you suggest to visit first?
At Gettysburg?
At Gettysburg.
Yeah, Devil's Den, I think, is probably one of the more haunted. A Little Round Top has its share of trauma. And I think the Old Grove, which is where we started off with, where the soldier ran through the middle school in the middle of the day. Yeah, there's quite a few sightings there, and you can visit there at night. They won't throw you out. So those three, very powerful sites. A lot of emotion attached to them.
Yeah. So I'm going to show the book, and so the people that are watching on YouTube, it's Haunted Gettysburg, Paranormal Tales from the Field of Battle. So who is this, a picture, or is this one of your cartoon drawings?
I took the photo. The great art department at Sutton Publishing enhanced it beautifully, like they did with the first book. They just did a great job.
No, they did. It's great.
Yeah. And made it so dramatic and creepy and all that. So, yeah. And the printing is super high quality. The photos hold up real well. They print it on good, solid coated stock. It's a very quality book. I'm very impressed with their printing.
Where do people pick up your amazing book?
Anywhere like Amazon, Barnes and Noble. We try to get into the visitor center there, but they haven't put it out yet. But those are the main, any large bookseller would have it.
Right. Well, Gettysburg is your latest. What's your next project? Because I know this is not your last book.
It is not. No. I actually just almost completed a book about history of Boston again. Only these are not ghost stories. They're true events from the hidden history of Boston. There's some amazing things that happen that people were either unaware of or have totally forgotten about, like the molasses flood that happened in 1919, Harry Houdini performing
that's
at
cool.
Boston twice, and having a public battle with a medium, famous medium. He actually spent his life trying to debunk mediums, so he's in the book quite a bit. And there's just 7 or 8, actually it'd be 18 stories from the history of Boston.
That's pretty cool. When is it going to be out?
I don't know, probably January. I would think no earlier than January. Yeah.
Oh, so it's coming up soon.
Yeah, before the spring, I think.
Well, hit me up. We'll have to have you back, and
I will definitely hit you up.
You can take us on a tour to Boston, the Forgotten Files. Well, Barry, thank you so much. You're amazing, and thank you for doing an amazing job on this beautiful book and
thank you.
Experiencing Gettysburg Forest. And so you can also go to bostonparanormal.org and see all kinds of different amazing stuff that Barry is doing and part of the organization. So, but Barry, thank you so much for being here.
You're very welcome, Tony. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Well, that was another Truth Be Told episode of this Halloween series that we've been going on this journey until the end of October. So we hope that you enjoyed it. Share, leave a review, and tell your friends. And we hope that you enjoy our episodes. So please subscribe, watch or listen to our Apple, iHeart, Spotify, all those good stuff. But until next time, I want you to take care of yourself and each other. Take care.